Welcome to the session. We are super excited about what's happening in our business. Ever since we started talking about, building a business on the B quadrant, a lot of things have fallen in place in terms of we've been looking at the ways in which we can, all of us can build global businesses, identify the right kind of people, and create sustainable businesses. So because that's exactly what B quadrant business is about, building assets. Now, with if we are going to talk about building organizations worldwide, then we'll also have to look at possibilities where we are finding people, generating leads. Let's talk the corporate language, right? The B quadrant language. We need to generate leads for our candidates, our partners, future partners, globally, and which means the way in which we approach our business has to also our net has to be wider. And so thank God for the access we have to the digital tools that this is absolutely possible. So in the last few months we've been consciously working on a lot of options, using social media, and trying to see how we can build leverage on social media in a very professional manner, so that all of us can build very, very large businesses in a professional manner that all of us can take pride in, right? And so I want to take you through a journey that we've been through, probably share a few things that we've learned in the process. Um, uh, we are not claiming mastery about it. There's so much that every day we are learning, but I think we've come a long way from where we started. And so our idea is to share this as a basic premise on which all of us can learn some basic fundamentals of social media and how we can use it, and then from there we can take it forward to the next level. Right? I'm going to use a presentation for this session, and after the session, if you have any questions, we can probably have a quick Q&A session. Yeah. So I'm just starting a presentation here. Great. Now we call this cracking the social media for conversations, and let's look at what is that we are trying to do it. So we want to begin with the end in mind, as always. And so what is the end that all of us desire? The end that all of us are desiring is, let me ask you this: would you like a list of people waiting for you to accept the invitation? Let's say if we are talking about LinkedIn, would you these are all screenshots of my personal account, right? And I want to tell you that I moved, 6 months back. I did not even have, I guess, 150 views. Today we're talking about, more than 1,000 views. Would you like to have a profile of 1,000 plus views? Would you like to have posts which are generating thousands of views, hundreds of likes, comments, and reshares? If you look at that, there's a post that's talking about 35,000 views almost, 535 likes, multiple things. It's not just one. I just picked up some of the recent ones. How about having a huge list of people, every single day, because they approach you. Now, this is the crux of the whole thing. This is the difference that we want to see. We want to create an environment where people are coming into our businesses, and we have an option to find the right kind of partners for our business. So if this is what we want to do, what should you and me do to do achieve these kind of results? See, there are two things that we can talk about, right? Everybody talks about either a push approach or a pull approach, right? I mean, it's very obvious what we're talking about. Push approach is typically where we are trying to say, hey, how good things we have, and then trying to get into a selling mode. And whereas a pull approach is creating an environment where people are excited about what they're seeing, what we have, and they are connecting with us directly, right? So the entire thing is about full approach, or in other words, the one option is that you go to everyone, and the other option is that everyone comes to you, right? What would you prefer? Yeah. Um, Obviously, everyone coming into you, approaching you for the business, right? So let's get going. And I will take you through this in four different, modules, you can call it. One is let's understand social media itself. How does this animal work? Second is let's create a brand called you. We want to create a brand for you on in the social media world. What are the etiquettes that you would ideally like to follow to create the right kind of impression, and are there some do's and don'ts that you would like to highlight, right? Great. Let's look at each of them individually, right? If you look at this, see, the way I look at it is social media is a world by itself, right? I mean, people literally live uh, life, there, and there are different, social media, platforms, right? Which all of us are aware of. Now, the way I look at this, each platform is like a country by itself, right? It has its own, preferences. It has its own culture. People there speak a different language. They have a different, liking, dislike, and things like that, right? See, for example, if you're, getting started on this, I think, this might be a good one to look at. Hopefully, I don't make you hungry showing you a nice, donut, But if you look at eating donuts, about donuts, in a Facebook, what would you say? It's all about saying I like donuts. Whereas a Twitter account, you're going to say I'm eating a donut, and something like an Instagram would say, hey, here's a photo of my donut, right? You're posting a lot of pictures, and then if you're on LinkedIn, then you're saying my skills including donut eating. I mean, this is on the lighter side, but I hope you get an idea, right? Each of them have a different language, different culture, and so we have to be aware of how we can leverage all this. The key influencing factors in social media is your relevance to that particular platform. For example, let's say here we are trying to create a brand image for a multi-million dollar business, right? You're creating a big important business, an asset which you will take pride, in building, and want to create, pass on the legacy to the next generations. So when you do that, you want to talk about the relevance of it. What do I mean by relevance? For example, you don't want to talk about this business in a platform, dating platform like, let's say, Tinder, right? I mean, there's no relevance to it. The second one is, your brand name. What value does your brand name have? There's a different, brand, value when you talk about, let's say, Apple or a Nike, and versus, you talk about something else, which, is, probably, let's say, a Kingfisher, airline, or, which is almost gone, and so, there's a difference, in the kind of brand value, perception that every brand has. What is the perception that your name will create or have? The quality, of your presence, right? When you say Apple, you know that we are talking about a, high quality. I'm just using Apple as an example here because all of us can, look at, that as a benchmark when it comes to smartphones, and it's, just a, contextual usage I'm talking about. The other key influencing factor is something called the user-generated content, right? We look at that, as we go into details. Then we talk about the volume or the quantity of content that you're creating, and then finally the timing of your, content. So we'll try and look at some of these things, as we go forward, right? See, if you are starting a B2B business, and obviously every business has its own target audience and things like that. So we want to know what is the kind of people that we're talking about. If you're talking about, let's say, uh, uh, looking for business partners, right? We're talking about an ideal age group of anywhere between 18 to 35. So, these are all, data that's available, online. You can also look for it, Google it, and find it out. So, if you look at this, for example, if you're looking at Facebook, so that has about 38%. This is a US crowd we're talking about. I'm talking about the statistics here. So, Facebook has roughly about 38% there. LinkedIn has 35%, and Instagram has about 49% in the age bracket of 18 to 35. So it just makes sense for us to be available there, right? For example, if you're interested in, let's say, using Quora, and let's say you're targeting the Indian male, between 18 and 35. So, the table here talks about it, and that we're talking about 3.4 lakh people who are there, and you add, women in the same category, age bracket, then we're probably talking about close about 6 lakh people on Quora. So it's all to do with what is the target audience that you're looking at and what platforms, right? So it's very important for you to look at some of these basic stuff. Again, the timing plays a very important role here because, see, it's like this. Let's say you want to open a supermarket in a very prominent place. Let's say you're opening a supermarket in Indiranagar. Now, what is the point of having your supermarket timing from 11 in the night till 6 in the morning? Right? You'll probably have the least amount of footfall there or customer walking in, and obviously the revenues will have a major hit. So there are certain relevant times that are very very high impact prime time for each of this. For example, if you're focused on Facebook healthcare, right? If you're looking at maybe a customer base in healthcare using Facebook, and if you really look at it, then the table on the left hand side talks about it. So if you look at it, the best timing is 1 to 4 p.m. and worst timing is after 8 p.m. And if people look at it, peak time is Wednesday at 3 p.m. So if you want to do something there, promotions or anything else, then it makes a lot of sense around that time. But even otherwise, I think Facebook is pretty much a good rounded off thing on all weekdays, right? That's a fairly a healthy time. I think a lot of people are using their office time to learn about healthcare. So that's just a tip I'm giving you. On the other hand, if you look at LinkedIn, these are both US statistics. You can find India specific statistics as well. So you will see that this is pretty much applicable to India as well. From whatever I see. So best is early in the morning, or on 1 or 2 days, a little later in the evening. Worst is after 10 in the evening, and the best times are what we've seen in India is from Monday to Friday. So that's where most people are using LinkedIn. Maybe again using the weekday office timing for maybe finding a job or looking at opportunities, just like what you may have to offer, right? Now let's look into creating a brand called you, right? And I'm sure this is something very exciting for you, right? How do you feel down the line when you say, just like how you say Ankur, you don't need to talk about the surname. It just pops out. There's only one Ankur. Just like how Sachin. You don't have to say what Sachin you're talking about, and everybody knows they're talking about Sachin Tendulkar. Same way, Kumar, or Bill Britt, or so Kanti. You don't even need the surname. You just need to talk about a name, and then you know what you're talking about. How about down the line you're able to create a brand like that for yourself? So for that, I'm going to talk about three different things. How is the first impression, your story, and your presence, right? So the first impression, I believe there are three things that you have to take care to create a good first impression. The first one is a profile picture. See, some of the mistakes that I've seen people do is use a long shot picture of them, or worst, they use maybe Lord Krishna or Hrithik Roshan or Cristiano Ronaldo, or some kind of a quote. It doesn't go well. It's a business profile. You want to build trust, and so people want to know how your face looks. Again, so it's preferable a close-up shot looking into the camera directly, or where your facial features are available. People love to look into your eyes, and that talks volumes about the kind of person you are. Relaxed smile, a smiling picture is awesome. Now, don't pick up a picture from a holy party. It might be a very nice one for you, but you don't want a funky one. Always think about this. I'm creating a multi-million dollar business. Does this picture represent like the owner of a multi-million dollar business, right? Preferably, professionally looking one. It may not have for example, for guys, you don't need to have a suit or anything else, but a good formal shirt, and looking into the nice looking, smart, any smart casual also. Looking at the camera, smiling confidently speaks a lot. Your content. This is another place where I see a lot of people don't take enough time to fill in your credentials, your way you studied, what you've been doing. Just saying, for example, in my case, I just say HR manager. It's useless. I mean, what does HR manager mean? I could be an HR manager for a team which is about 5 people, or it can be 5,000 people. So you want to get into a little more detail. If you're working, create a very strong, work-related LinkedIn profile. We'll talk about how we can use that, but make it very professional sounding. Credibility. You're building credibility using your LinkedIn profile. I'm just using LinkedIn as a reference point. You can use any social media platform here. The small big things, I mean your grammar, your how does the overall feel look, your spelling mistakes, the commas, the full stops. Imagine you're applying for a company, and you want to look into the website, and there are multiple places where you see mistakes, and that's not a good place. You might say, hey, I'm not good with English. I mean, there are simple apps like Grammarly, which you can, use it just to make sure that your grammar is good, or, your English spelling is checked once. Run it through with your coach if you want to. So all this, make a page. Your story. Now, I personally believe this is your opportunity to create that impact in the person who goes through. For example, let's say you have never applied to a company, you know, uh, ABC. Now, chances are you probably never have visited the website. But let's say you are going to go through that. One of the things that you'll probably do before you go to an interview is to go through the website and start looking at, all the details. And, you want a good, credible looking, company story and details there. This is an acronym that you can look at here. If you look at it, SUCCES, right? And this is from from what I've learned from Ankush Pro. It's of a book, amazing book. But it's a simplest way for you to remember. Remember that to keep your story simple. Have some kind of a small unexpected thing. So there's curiosity or an interest that's created, but it has very clear concrete details to it. There's a credibility that is built, while the story. There's an emotional part attached to it, and then it's in the form of a story. It's not like a very prose kind of a thing, right? Let's look at an example. I'm going to take you through two examples, which might help you. Look at this. When I was 16, I climbed tree. Not metaphorically, I literally climbed the highest tree in my surrounding. While I was climbing, I thought about quitting approximately 5,000 times, and that's a low ball estimate. But despite that high winds, low altitude, mental whatever, I kept going. I'm that person. Once I say I'll do something, it will happen. What a beautiful way of picking out an incident from a childhood and then saying, hey, this is the kind of person I am. Now I'm very interested to read further. Now I put that perseverance to perseverance to be an entrepreneur. I don't have to climb trees any trees now, but I do have to move them. If you're interested in grabbing coffee and talking shop, please send an email right away. Right? That's beautiful because it's such a simple way of narrating something, but connecting it back to the business, and so it catches somebody's attention, and even if they're not too sure, the comfort level of the person of the owner of the profile is very high. Let's look at another example, right? Um, so it clearly says the objective of this person as well, or a vision, you can say, in it to make the world a better place. When I was 13 years old, I went to Asta Special School in Rajasthan and noticed how they were struggling to collect funds. The management there was too old to understand technology. With the help of one of my teachers, I created a website for them with a payment gateway. That eventually worked as they ended up getting really good donations online. There was no looking back after that. I wanted to do something with technology that would enable people and businesses to give shapes to their thoughts. That's the idea behind my current venture, Brickview Studios, where we are working on AR and we are to convert imagination into reality. We recently joined the family of NASCOM 10K startup. One important thing for me, which I now apply to my field of work, you can learn everything on your own. Reach out to people who can provide you with the knowledge. Network is equal to net worth. LinkedIn has been very significant to me in that respect. With the help of LinkedIn, I got to know people who have helped me, guided and supported me personally and professionally. Right? So you want to have a captivating story, right? This is only one-time effort. Sit with your coach, review it, multiple times. Have one or two different options. See what appeals to you. Take opinion from a couple of other people. Your coach and probably his coach if required, and then get this up on your profile. Now, let's get into the meat of the whole stuff. How do I get started? Your presence. How do you create your presence? There are three things that you need to be aware of it, right? The quantity of content that you're going to create, the content itself, and the timing of creating the content, right? These are the three things that we're going to talk about. About creating your presence. Quantity. What does it mean? What is the right level of participation that should be there? One feel like people should not wonder, does this guy have a life in the real world? On the other hand, you should not post something and then vanish for 2-3 months and then come back again. So there's a consistency that you should see. What we've seen really works well for most people is an average 2 to 3 posts every day. I'm going to talk about what you can do on that as well, right? Because you might say, Ian, oh, I'm not good at generating content. I don't speak English. I'm not creative, right? What do I do? So let's look at what are the options. First rule of creating content: keep it sweet and simple. Yes, always remember this, right? Keep it sweet and simple. If you're getting started, for the first couple of weeks, this is what I would recommend. Just pick quotes from the internet. Look for things that appeal to you, right? In this example, for example, there's something which is about spirituality, something about creating wealth or becoming successful, quote by Warren Buffett, or something about marriage. Whatever appeals to you, because what appeals to me might not appeal to you, and what appeals to you might not be interesting for me. So it doesn't matter. Just pick up. You want to create your brand. So pick up things which appeal to you, and then start posting. One in the morning, one in the evening, almost like a medicine type. Just go ahead for a few couple of weeks. As you're posting it, I want you to start looking at how's the response from the people whom you know. What are the kind of do a little mix and match. You'll start realizing what are the kind of feedback. Where do most people respond well. See, for example, in this case, you'll see that here, there are only about 11 likes, whereas in this particular thing, there are, 28 likes. So right away, I kind of get an idea. A light-hearted, or relationship-oriented thing may, work well with the crowd that I'm talking about. Pick up short videos from the internet as well, right? See, in this example, I'm talking about two different videos. One is about parenting, and the other one is about somebody who had a dream and pursuing the dream, right? So these are two different things. So if you are looking at videos, then they are also very engaging. But choose short videos. I would think maybe any video longer than 3 or 4 minutes. It's really long. Today is a world where people are not having enough attention. You want to give them short, good videos. There are enough of them, tons of them that's available online. Um, all of us are, doing core run, and we're reading books. Look at this. This is somebody in our team, Ramya Sharda. So what she's done beautifully is one, she picked up something right off the book. That's image that she, shot, maybe a picture that she, captured off the page that she really liked, and then just put it there. And then she's done something beautiful. Like what she did also is another book. These are probably two different days. She put it in her own words, something that she liked, right? And you'll see that there is a higher number of likes for this kind of a post. So right away, she can now know, hey, content like this is more welcome in my network than a content like this, right? So be observant of where people are, responding well. It's extremely important there. Again, don't always keep thinking about inspiring people and moving them to action. Just make some clean, fun, add variety. These are things that I use. For example, this just a joke, simple, husband-wife joke, which people can laugh at. So, that is one thing. And then, this is a music and dance video, right? I mean, usually I don't post music videos, but this was a very lively, light-hearted one. And, sometime in the middle of the week, I thought, I should just put it there. So, so just mix variety and clean fun, keep it clean. We'll talk about what is appropriate, not appropriate also as we go by. But all I'm saying is add variety. It really keeps the your audience engaged. Otherwise, if you're going to just be very monotonous with one kind of message over and over again, people will tune out, and they're just going to block you, for being a boring guy. Now, if you read in the internet or any of the people who talk about, how do I have a big following and things like that, you will keep hearing this term, user-generated content, again and again and again. There is so much of hype to this. You will be thinking, man, the only way to run a business is user-generated content. While it is good, I want to tell you this, right? For our business, user-generated content is just optional. See, for example, we talked about 2 to 3 posts every single day. So that's on average roughly about 15 to 20 posts week. Let's assume you just generate 2 new likes, for every post. That's let's say 15 into 2, you have 13 new places where you can have a conversation, right? So, that's good enough. I mean, if you, now if you develop the art of good conversations, you have a good, pipeline that's going on for, in terms of lead generation. Don't rush into creating user-generated content, right? Go slow. First couple of months, talk about, just post multiple other things to see the flavor what your people like. See, for example, gradually increase your flavor. For example, like I said, when you do this, and this, you'll know what is, interesting. So this is the part, that was available in the book. And then what Ramya has done is she was just reading a slightly, she's just put it in her own words. That is, adding your own flavor, right? Instead of you trying to write a big article, right away, and then, or create a video and, invest a lot of time into it, and, you don't want to do all that. Gradually increase your flavor, see how audience responds, right? Um, uh, Keep it short and simple, right? Please stay away from your TOEFL English, right? Your article or a post should not require a thesaurus to read it, right? It should keep it simple, 8th grade English. People want to be able to relate to you. They should not get frightened. Your idea is not to impress them. You want to connect with them, right? This is something that I think all of us should, be aware of. Do not teach, right? Your posts are opportunities not to teach, but your goal is to just generate enough conversations that later you can influence them, into taking to the next levels. My suggestion is share your stories, and what kind of stories can you talk about. Some stories, story ideas for user generated content could be pick up something which is which helped you learn something very fundamental in your college or school time. It could be a mistake which you did or somebody else did and things like that. What did you learn from it, or a funny incident, something that you learned from your parents or from your children. It happened. What did you or what you noticed as part of your daily life. The way you interacted with a cab driver or a marketplace, could be anything, right? Again, my suggestion is creating user-generated content after checking with your coach, right? Before you start investing a lot of your time into that. My suggestion is, if you're investing your time into user-generating generated content or writing articles, use them in topics which are reusable components, which means it can be used multiple times, at least 2 or 3 times in a year. Maybe you can quote or you can refer people to that for looking at it. See, for example, this is something which talks about how if I can look at it, look at using it later. This one, for example, is about time management. And this one is about choosing the right mentor. So you can choose, and I once it's written, I can keep using them again and again and again, right? And so because I have already invested quite a bit of amount of time, and thought, thinking into creating this particular article or post. Another suggestion is, create a multi-platform presence, right? What does it mean? Oh, Indian, does it mean that I have to do the same thing in different platforms? No, no, no. For example, what I do is my primary platform is LinkedIn, right? That is what I create a lot of, value-added, stuff. But then I also have presence in, let's say, Quora, and probably a little bit on, Facebook. I'm just getting started. Maybe a little bit on LinkedIn. So, Instagram. So what I do is I choose 2 or 3 platforms where you're comfortable with. For example, if you're very comfortable with photographs and things like that, and you're somebody who's a photo guy, you can probably use an Instagram. Or if you're a very text-based person, then you can use probably Facebook. If you're or let's say you love writing, answering questions and things like that, then maybe for just look at it. I mean, there are so many business networking platforms. You can search on the online and explore multiple things, and you will find it. If you're extremely good with, just having impact statements, maybe Twitter is your thing, right? And again, choose based on your comfort level of personality. Just because your coach is, very comfortable with one platform does not mean that you should also be comfortable with that. The idea is create a multi-platform presence, and here also the rule is, keep it, sweet and simple. What do I do? I create content for one and then post it on all the other platforms, right? So if I'm posting something in LinkedIn, let's say, I post it on everything, all the other platforms that I'm available on, right? As simple as that. I do one more thing. For example, if LinkedIn is my primary platform, in my Instagram or in my Quora, in my profile, I say, hey, if you're interested in what I'm writing, sharing, you should connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm going to redirect all my audience who is interested to my primary platform. So that's how I ensure that everybody gets connected on my primary platform. For example, I write. I'm very comfortable writing. So answering questions. So I pick up a few select questions on finances, finances or career and stuff like that, and or time management, success principles, things that we learn from our Brit Worldwide system and our mentors. So I've written a couple of these things, and look at the kind of responses that I've got from Quora, and all of these people connected with me on LinkedIn, right? For example, it says, you can read that, right? I mean, how do you like it? If somebody, says, I'm very impressed, or, I need suggestion, or, I want to I would love to connect and pick the precious brain of yours. Can we probably talk? I need your investment. I'm moving to a new city. I would like to advise. I mean, somebody asking directly for mentoring. Would that be good, right? Imagine, few months, 2, 3 months back, 4 months back, I had zero presence on Quora, right? And it's all about doing it on a regular basis. Consistency is the key, guys. I think this is exactly what Bill Britt has been talking for the last 45 years, right? Consistent and persistent, right? That's all it is. But talk to your upline mentor and coach, and make sure that your time, only the right time of kind of time investment goes into social media. But it's not about what I have done or what brand name you will create. Our business, the real joy is in duplication, right? Is it Indian only you got success? Actually, if that was the case, I think I would have been very frustrated. Because if I'm unable to duplicate in the organization, whatever we are doing is not duplicable, then I think we really wasted, right? If you look at this is what music, Lady Gaga. In something, words to it, and they presented their perspective. And look at that, 124 likes, and into that. And look at this, this is a complete user-generated content. That's about 740 likes, right? 79,000 views. Would you like something like that? And I am in love with the guys who are learning from our team and duplicating it. And the good news is it's so easy to learn. It's just that you need to be patient to create it for the next 2, 3 months. What is the whole idea? In 2, 3 months, what is it? What are you trying to do? It's very simple. It's about either you can uh, uh, carry buckets for the whole lifetime, or create a pipeline which will feed you for a lifetime, right? So what you want to choose is going to be your choice. I think that all of us are here, if you're on this session, I'm sure you're thinking about creating a pipeline for yourself, a B quadrant business, and asset, creating an asset for you. And that's the whole idea about this entire thing, right? The other thing I also want to tell you is, although we talk about social networks, using leveraging social networks, uh, this is not a replacement for your real world conversations, right? Real world conversations, a lot of you are doing already. So I'm not getting into the details, but so this is not a replacement for it, but this is an addition to what you're already doing. This is just to get you more effective in doing the social networking, you're leveraging on social networks. Good. What are the some of the etiquettes that you would like to practice, see in effect in during your conversations? So there are three things I want you to keep in mind. How do I initiate? How do I respond? And how do I participate? So what happens is this. So when I post something, there are a few people who like it. So now it tells me two things about the person who's put a like or a comment. The person is active, right? The person is active. First thing. The second is the person liked something what I put. So there's some kind of a nice, a common level of like-mindedness that is there, right? We always keep saying, right? We want to work with like-minded people, and that's what we want to do. And so, initiating, right? That's the beauty of it, right? So the person is put just a like. From there, how do I do it? For example, this is how I've initiated in a couple of places, right? We look at this. In this case, I said, hey, notice that you like one of my recent posts and thought of connecting with a like-minded individual. Then, it's a simple thing. I go into their profile, I look at it and say, hey, how come you moved from core engineering into recruitment? How are you finding the change? Then it's normal conversation. All of your masters, at that. If you look at this, again, same thing, right? Notice that you liked one of my recent posts. It's a good coincidence you're a HR person in the healthcare domain. Now, this is a lady, by the way, right? This is a lady. So right away, I'm, introducing my wife. Right? My wife is in healthcare, and I come from HR background. Um, in my, these are the personalized invites I'm sending to LinkedIn, right? And it's extremely important when you connect with a lady, if you're a guy, if you're connecting with an opposite person of an opposite gender, that you also introduce your spouse. If you're single, if you're building the business as single, then talk about your coach or mentor who's married, and then talk about the husband and wife team there, uh, uh, who's going to get involved in the process. You want to make sure that they are aware of what your intentions are, right. If you look at this, actually, this is how most typical things are. So, for example, in this case, there's hardly anything else in the profile except for the company that the person was working on. So I said, hey, the company's name is very interesting. Are they into service or product? I mean, you can think of something else. If somebody is putting 3 years, I'll say, wow, man, made 3 years. If somebody says, if he's just joined the company 3 months back, I'll say, wow, looks like you've made a recent change. How are you finding this compared to the last company? So you just find something to talk about. That's all it is, right? Initiating is just something which you're already good at. And if you look at this, electrical engineering background followed by NMB, very similar to mine, except for that there was nothing else in the profile, and I could talk about it, right? So that is how I initiate after somebody is created. So like I said, if you're doing about 2 or 3 posts every single day, you have about 20 to 30 people who like. So you can right away initiate 20 to 30 conversations every bare minimum talk about. You saw my numbers. I mean, this week, for example, I think I had a good message going on. I had roughly about 600 likes, oh, more than that actually, so close to about 700 or 800 likes in this week's posts alone, which means even if I don't have to do, if I don't do any posts for the next 2 months, I can still initiate conversation with 10 new people every single day. But the thing is this, if I don't initiate for the next 2 months, then this actually the value of the 600 conversations is gone, right? You want to be consistent. That people want to see that you're always connected and things like that. And so participation. How do we participate? So if you look at this, so I not only talk about places where I'm posting, so it's a very passive thing. I also want to participate, more. So I am talking about I'm looking for places from my feed. I don't go and search everywhere. I just look at possible places where I can connect, and I participate in multiple places. For example, in this case, there was a lady, single mom, who's graduating out of a college, while managing a child. So I'm just what I've said is I've just clapped, nothing else. The reason I did it is because there are 9,000 people who liked it. So I'm just increasing my presence there. This is somebody who is a very very accomplished person, a CTO of an organization. So the quality of people in this circle is very high. So I went and said something here, right? I participated, saying, "Wow, you have impressed my." And then here, if you look at it, somebody had asked a question. I went back and referred back to one of my earlier posts, saying, "Hey, this might help you." So I participate. And the other very important thing is, if you're using somebody else's message or post that they've done, please give credit to where it is due, right? All you have to do is put a tag on them and say image courtesy or thank you, and I'll tell you that guy also is on your side, and everybody else will actually respect you for that. Some of the basic do's and don'ts, general rules, keep the English simple, get creative in your heading, don't, if you're working, obviously you cannot say, businessman or entrepreneur. It's like, if you're a lady, you can say mompreneur, you if you're working, you can use business enthusiast, learning about, interested, follower of business trends, social entrepreneur. But just, be a little more creative. Your coach will be able to help you with that. Behave like you would in the real world. I want you to understand this. Digital world is more transparent than you think, and anything that you do in the digital world will stay there. It's almost like it's going to be there for a long time. So be very, very careful. And so you, you know I'm just rushing through here. There's a couple of other things that I would like to talk about in terms of don'ts. Um, if you really look at um, disconnect and then we merge that video later.
You want to be aware of, or these are guidelines more say, is participate more. When I mean participate more, what does it mean? Stay positive. Be more an encourager than finding faults with people. Just stay positive, be happy. Offer help to people. And if you're offering help, offer help places where you can do it. When I mean offer help, you can just possibly just forward somebody's resume to people, things like that, or and don't become a job hunter for others either, right? It's like a balance. Keep that a balance in check always. Applaud basic everything to do with what Dale Carnegie talks about in how to win friends and influence people, right? Because always remember, a drop of honey attracts more bees. Follow the right kind of influencers. You want your feed to have people. There's no point in following Jeff Weiner and Bill Gates and things like that. I mean, people, thousands, lakhs, and millions of people probably might follow them, but that's not giving you the right kind of feed. As you initiate your journey, get started in your journey of using social media, look for people who are looking at, like local influencers, and some of them will anyway not engage with you on, for, as a business partner. Some of them are old, some of them run their own organization, they are busy with their own life. So, you want to use them and you applaud them a few times and start, commenting on their profiles and stuff like that, and slowly become, accepted into their network. And probably it's all a couple of weeks I'm talking about, and then suddenly you realize once they are in your, they've accepted you as an contact, then what happens is, every post that you do, they get to see. They probably, if you add a comment, then it goes to all the people. Whenever you add a comment to their post, then that goes to their entire set of people. So it becomes a positive loop, right? So work with the right kind of influencers, and some of the guidelines for things that you can avoid, right? So like I was mentioning earlier, don't mislead people with job opportunities. Don't make it sound like you're offering job opportunities. Don't post saying, hey, some survey and like or something like that. If all this there, don't post surveys. Don't say I'm creating a WhatsApp group for entrepreneurs now. Join this group. No, don't do all that, right? After they join, then what? You'll probably find one or two people like that. Then how will you teach your 20 PV checks that you're talking about? Let's say you have 12 people. You want to be able to teach what you're doing, and don't take any shortcuts. Don't talk about freelancing options. Don't say projects. It's more much better if you are upfront, straightforward. Like Ankur talks about. There's an elephant in the room. Acknowledge the elephant in the room and take it forward. Stay clear from discussions on politics, religion, etc. See, I'm not saying you not to have an opinion there. I'm just saying stay clear from these places. If you have a showroom on MG Road and and if there's a very sensitive thing going on, would you take a big risk with that? You will not. I mean, you want to make sure that there is, see, for example, let's say I whatever I do, whether I'm supporting Modi or I'm against Modi, right there I've lost 50% of my crowd. So why even tell the people whether, what is my, preference, right? Just stay clear of that, no communal jokes, no, vulgarity, obviously, and stuff like that. Keep it, curious. The entire approach should be to arouse curiosity and don't make things very obvious, not in public, right? Don't say, in public that it is, that, oh, I'm, working with, let's say, if I say my mentor is Ankur every time, it's not, so I will just say, hey, if you qualify, I'll, probably, I can connect you with my coach or mentor, or I can possibly talk about, saying, hey, I've benefited a lot from my mentor. If you look at it, me and my, both my, appliance in India, Ratish and, Ankur, we are not even connected on LinkedIn because we don't want our, each other's contact getting influenced by the other person, right? So, it's as simple as that. Same way, I encourage all the people I'm working with in my organization not to connect with me. They can follow my posts so that they get an idea what I'm doing, so they know what, how I'm doing, and so that they can also learn one or two things from that. But I, highly, encourage people not to stay connected with me on, LinkedIn or, anything else. In your profile or in your conversations, avoid stereotypes which kind of talk about the business. Do have there's nothing wrong in saying, hey, I'm in network marketing or something like that, but you want to have a very healthy conversation there, and obviously we're going to talk about in the pre-qualification or at least the MG1 level that we are talking about Amway and Brit Worldwide and network marketing. So that's perfectly fine, but avoid stereotypes on your profile and conversations there. Things like wellness coach. Talk about hey, I'm in the healthcare industry is perfectly fine, or 7-step process. All that. We you have to read Business of 21st Century to qualify. All that. Avoid any of the giveaways. You don't want to talk about anything that we are using inside our business meetings. That words lingo, avoid. The next one is a very obvious one. Never spam. No cold messages. Cold calls. Maybe in the past you might have done it, but now that you're very clear that you're building a B-quadrant business that you will be proud of, you will create, which will last for the next generation and probably beyond. You want to make sure that you're creating the right kind of impression, right? So never spam, no cold messages and cold calls, on social media. There are a few factors that actually ripple people, and you want to be aware of them as well. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is where somebody else posts a nice story, just copy it and paste it, right, as though it is yours. If for whatever reason you're doing it, my suggestion is forward their entire thing, share their original post with your comments, or if it's an image or something like that. If for some reason you want to have a different thing, like we've seen it earlier, give the credit for what they've done. That hey, I got this image or video from XYZ, right? Whatever. Play the I factor a little low. What does it mean? Don't get into too much of a boasting mode. You want to talk about your story and everything else, but it should not say, see what I have done. Look at me. And a lot of people who do that, and that's a very, very big no-no. I mean, it repels people. Don't force the idea. The idea is to say, hey, have a conversation going on. Forcing your idea is not going to help you either. Same way, being very cynical, sarcasms, or a pessimistic outlook, No, it's not going to help you either. You must, be, you can be the English professor teaching Shakespeare. That does not mean that your post should, look like that. If your post is going to, sound like Hamlet, then, you'll find the people, from the, 400 years back era, right? So you want to talk to the people who are right now, who are your don't operate with a hidden agenda. Mine is very clear. I am here to strike a conversation, to create a positive impact for my business. So I want to make sure that the entire ecosystem is maintained very well. So because of me trying to find my business partners, I don't want to create a a wrong impression about our business or the way we run our business. When during your conversations, don't jump too early, don't be too eager to tell the message. Always remember, you want to be in the driver's seat, you want to be the person who's the buyer, right? And you don't want to be the seller, right? What is the simplest form where whether you're a buyer or seller, the person who's asking questions is in the driver's seat. He's a buyer, he or she is a buyer. So ask yourself, are you asking questions and allowing the other person to speak, or are you the person who's yapping away too much, right? So it's a simple guideline, but again, talk to your coach on that as well. Remember this, guys. We are trying to create a brand and things like that. Everybody else is trying to be have their presence on the social media. You'll find people who are influencers, but I want you to know this: influencers don't make money. Nobody pays them money. I mean, there are probably one or two people who make good income, but nobody even comes even closer to a founder's platinum income, right? Very, very few people. I mean when I mean very few people, maybe 1 out of every 1 lakh people, or 1 million people there. So you want to be very careful. Remember, why are you on social media? Don't lose that focus. You are there to find out your partners. You are there to create a legacy for yourself. You are there to bring the best out of for your own business. And you don't want to be there stuck in social media world. You want to create a legacy in the real world. I hope what I'm talking about made sense, and these are all guidelines, and I'm sure a lot of them probably you're aware of already. Work with your upline coach. Anything before you change anything what I just shared, make sure that you talk to your upline coach. Have a question and answer them. Sit with them, understand. Review your progress every 2-3 weeks. Don't evaluate every message post. Don't do an analysis on every message. It doesn't help. Go through it for a week or 2 weeks. See how it goes. It took me the first couple of weeks to even figure out how to post properly and things like that. And then once that got going, it became a very exciting time. Today, like I said, it's a very enjoyable thing. Because there's a good pipeline, that's been created. Great. It was good talking to all of you, and I wish you all the best. See you on the beaches of the world. All the best.